Hi, and thank you for joining us for a new season of BSPN. It wouldn't be a new season without some new hosts. I'm Brandon Corey, here with Josh Goldberg and David Fixler. And we're starting mid-semester here, so a lot to catch up on. But first, we'll start with the World Series, because when something happens once in 108 years, probably good to talk about it. Cubs with an incredible 3-1 comeback over Cleveland. Ben Zobrist was series MVP, had the RBI double late in that game. Really big game. What did you guys think about it?
It was a great game. You know, even with the rain delay during the middle of it, I think everyone was definitely focused the entire time, and there was a lot of engaging action. Definitely one of the best World Series games I've seen.
Speaking of that rain delay, do you think that maybe impacted the game at all?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the Terry Francona might have put out one of his other pitchers, but the rain delay got in the way, and they had to use a different pitcher. So.
Yeah, I definitely think something like that, especially with momentum. I think Cleveland had a good amount of momentum heading into the end of that game.
Right.
And I always, when I think of delays, I think about the lights going off in the Super Bowl for the 49ers. I thought like that caused a big shift in momentum, and I thought this, again, helped out the Cubs in the end.
Yeah.
And even they called it the best rain delay they've ever seen. So definitely pretty cool. So then we can go into some of the decision making. This was probably one of the most well-managed World Series, I thought.
Yeah.
But some decisions, maybe overworking Aroldis Chapman or pulling Kendricks during that game. Any opinion on that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I saw a stat that this is the first time that no starting pitcher in a World Series game has gone further than 6 innings, which is a little hard to believe. But also in this game, you can see when teams are bringing in their closers in the 6th or 7th inning, it just totally changes the whole dynamic of the way the games work, which definitely had a big impact on the way the World Series went.
Yeah. I mean, the Aroldis Chapman had 97 pitches in 3 games, which is incredible. I mean, when you think about a starting pitcher, most of the time they're not even going to have 100 pitches, within like their, 103 days or 4 days of pitching. So, yeah.
So this Cubs team, obviously very young. I think that they have a good shot to, you can come back in this position next year.
Yeah.
It's easy to say that now, but do you guys think there's any shot either of these teams come back?
I think so. I mean, Theo Epstein, the general manager for the Cubs, he led the Red Sox to the World Series in 2004. And, for the next few years afterwards, the Red Sox were really good. And, the Cubs could do the same way. I mean, Joe Maddon looks to be staying there. And, yeah.
Definitely a lot of hope in both Cleveland and Chicago, which is definitely changing pace from what we've seen in past years. So now I want to move into some local news. The Binghamton Mets have changed their name, and as a local student, I grew up watching the Mets, so it's a little disappointing. They are now the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, and definitely a creative name. You guys were there, so what was it like?
Yeah, we went to the unveiling. We helped out. Our names were not picked, thank God, because we didn't know what we were doing. But it was still, a cool experience. I mean, I get the idea. It's a nice marketing idea, but it's also kind of why change something that kind of worked,
Yeah, I mean, definitely for local people, I think it might draw people away, like push people away who have been watching the B-Mets for such a long time. But I definitely think it can bring in new fans who, it's a funny name, bring in new people, bring new interest into this sport. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think that definitely changing it up, even though it may not at first seem like the best idea, I think over time it'll start to catch on and generate more interest, especially if they can, keep winning or start to kind of, work that in.
Winning definitely always helps.
Yeah.
I think the big thing would be bring Tim Tebow in.
Right, yeah. Tim Tebow on the Binghamton Rumble Ponies. I mean, I want to get that jersey. I don't know about you guys.
Definitely a good way to draw people to the Rumble Ponies games.
Right, for sure.
And now we've missed out on a lot in terms of NFL. So let's go into the NFL real quick. Best team in the NFL, Patriots, in my opinion. Any objections?
No, I think so. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, other teams have had some really good games and shown very, strong, offense or defense, but that really, nobody's been as consistently good as the Patriots right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only other team you have to look at the moment might possibly be the Cowboys, just with the way Prescott's been doing so far. He's pulled off, I think it's 6 in a row or something in terms of wins. And he's really leading the team, which is something that for a rookie is unprecedented and shows some great composure. So we'll see if they can hold up those winning ways as the season goes on.
Yeah, and how about
Yeah.
those Cowboys? 7-1. They just beat the Browns, which 0-9 now, not necessarily
Right.
the biggest win, but they won 35-10 on the road. I thought it was a pretty impressive win, and I thought it really showed that this team. I mean, it's not a joke.
Yeah.
The Cowboys are one of the
Right.
better teams in the NFL. The offense is definitely among the top in the league, and I think the defense is holding up. It's like a bend not break defense. The secondary has been better than people expected.
Right.
The D-line had a lot of injuries, but it's not the worst defense in the NFL,
Mhm.
far from it. So,
Yeah.
do you think there's any competition in the NFC East? Do you think the Cowboys have it? Giants pulled off the big win.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, the Giants can turn around. Their offense really, has been clicking on all cylinders. For, at times it goes, like one quarter or another quarter, it looks really good. But, I don't know if they can. I think defense wins games, in the end, and when, the offense isn't working. So, I don't know.
And Josh, any picks out of the NFC East, or is it just the Cowboys?
I mean, so far the Cowboys have been really strong. The Giants have shown times where they've been a lot stronger, but I feel like with Eli Manning, leading the way for the Giants, there's just too much inconsistency with the way the team is looking right now.
Definitely some ups and downs from Eli against the Eagles. Definitely an up, threw 4 touchdowns in that one. Really, I thought more the Eagles lost that game than the Giants came out and won it, especially with some of the problems in that secondary. But really, it doesn't seem like, especially with the Eagles being 0-3 in the division, the only real contender to take it would probably be the Giants. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how that plays out. The next Giants-Cowboys game will definitely
For
be a
sure.
big one.
That'll be.
And then moving on, the Vikings took the loss this week again, fall to 5-3 on the season. Do you think this team is still a contender for the NFC? Because that's how they were being described, 2-3 weeks ago as one of the best
Right.
teams. Sam Bradford obviously looked great going into the beginning of the season. Now it's slowed down a little bit. So what do you guys think about the Vikings?
I mean, they got off to a great start, which is definitely something great to see as the season began. And then, they're having some problems, kind of keeping that up now. Obviously, you're not going to, it's hard to maintain such a strong start, and losing 3 in a row is kind of, it's a rough patch. I do think they'll start kind of getting back to the winning ways a bit and figuring it out, and I think they will be a contender when it gets closer to playoff time. But it's definitely something to try to address now and to fix whatever problems there are that are kind of bring them down right now.
Definitely. And I think Pat Shurmur, they lost their OC, he resigned, and now Pat Shurmur, who was the OC on the Eagles, worked with Sam Bradford before. I think that could add, some new elements to this offense, maybe help him out. I mean, he wasn't the most successful under Shurmur last year, but that Sam Bradford's a guy who wants consistency, and that's something he hasn't had throughout his whole career. From the Rams to the Eagles to the Vikings, he's really hasn't had a consistent team with good pieces around him. So I think Pat Shurmur, I think he likes that. I think he likes working with Shurmur. I think it's going to help out the offense in the end.
Yeah. Be interesting to see.
Definitely interesting. And then, so another big win, Oakland over Denver, Sunday night football. Denver was definitely the favorite going in. I think they were the favorite to win this division, but do you think that changed after that Oakland win?
I mean, the Oakland offense has definitely surprised some people this year. With even before that game started, their record was 6-2, which shows that they have definitely been kind of putting together a strong season, and their team is looking pretty connected. I mean, especially holding up against Denver with the way their defense has been the past year and this year. I mean, that's definitely a great sign that I think they can hold up the way they are the rest of the season. But we'll see. It was in Oakland, which kind of might shift the way that the game would be if it was in Denver.
Definitely. And David, who do you think takes it? Do you think it's the Broncos? Do you think it's the Raiders or someone else?
I don't know. I mean, the Raiders' offense has been ridiculously good. I mean, Derek Carr has proven to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. People are kind of, they always doubt him, but, he's been consistent. Latavius Murray and the other running backs on the Raiders have been quite good. And Amari Cooper and Crabtree are one of the best 1-2 duos in, history. I mean, it's really a matter of will their offense prevail over really good defense? And
I think
turns out, last night it looks like, offense wins.
It'll definitely be interesting to watch that division as we go on. I think
Yeah.
Jack Del Rio has done one heck of a job with that team, and I think he's a Coach of the Year candidate right now.
For sure.
And when it comes to the playoffs, it's one loss, and you're out. So the Patriots are obviously the most dominant team in the AFC, but I think that the Raiders have a good shot to go all the way, or at least make a very good run. Moving on, go to some more local teams, New York teams we didn't talk about. Buffalo is playing actually tonight on Monday Night Football,
Right.
but they are 4-4. Do you think what are their playoffs hopes right now? They're still thinking playoffs, but what about the fans and other football fans? What do you think they're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think fans are, kind of getting a little restless, probably, kind of really trying to see them break out. It's been a roller coaster year. They started off pretty strong, and now they've kind of been back and forth a bit. I don't think the game against the Seahawks will benefit them too well. We'll see how that goes, but they definitely do have a lot of key pieces that can help them win. So it's just a question of whether or not they can all blend together well.
What do you think, David?
I mean, I think they're, as Josh was saying, they're kind of streaky. And so, as it happens a lot of times, a streaky team can, push do well into the playoffs and then win in the playoffs, unexpectedly. I mean, that could theoretically happen. Sammy Watkins, I think he's out for the year, but they made do with what they have. Running backs and wide receivers has been pretty good.
Yeah,
So.
and I mean they've described Sammy as IR designated to return. That's not there anymore, but they're hoping he can maybe
Right.
come back. And if they're if they can get that playoff spot, which they're not winning the division, I feel pretty confident
Yeah.
saying that. But if they can get that playoff spot, I think with that defense, and I think if you add Sammy Watkins, it's enough of a weapon on offense for Tyrod Taylor that offense can really be productive too.
Right.
So definitely an interesting team to watch, Buffalo. I think they're maybe a dark horse for playoff run.
for sure.
If they can put it all together. Then onto the Jets, the last New York team. Obviously in the worst position right now, 3-5. They just took a loss to the Dolphins, arguably one of the worst teams in the NFL. So what do you think the next move is for this team? I mean, I don't think at this point you're thinking playoffs if you're a Jets fan.
Mhm.
So where do you think they go from here?
Yeah, it's been an interesting year so far for the Jets, and I don't really know how much better it's going to get. I mean, there's always the possibility of trying to go out and get like a star or someone who's going to really stand out, but I definitely think the injuries they've had, especially to Brandon Marshall, that hasn't benefited them, and I mean they're in an excruciating division to begin with, so it really comes down to coaching, and I don't really know how they're planning to kind of make moves right now, but they're in a tough spot for sure.
Definitely. What about that quarterback situation? Do you think how they can address that?
I think, if they tank, which isn't necessarily, I don't know, how viable it is, but, if they can get a top tier quarterback for next year, I think there's some good quarterbacks that are going to be going at the draft, I'm sure, this coming year. Maybe they get somebody and replace Fitzpatrick. I mean, he's good, but he's proven to, have problems. He had 11 interceptions, I think, within the first, 5 or 6 games, just ridiculous. And then Geno Smith comes in, and then he, tears his ACL. So, it's a combination of just unfortunate events and just, got to get the right pieces together, I guess.
Definitely. I mean, they have some young talent there. We'll see how Hackenberg develops. That'll be interesting. Definitely some concerns with him coming out of Penn State. And then you have Bryce Petty, who another young quarterback with potential, but hasn't really shown us anything yet. So maybe they go to Romo. I mean, with the way the Cowboys are playing, I think they're going to move away from the Romo era into the Dak Prescott era. And, there's a few teams with quarterback troubles, Jets being one of them, that I think might target Romo. And I think that might be a short-term solution, but it could help them make a run. So now we're going to go into some game predictions for next week in the NFL season. We have Cowboys at Steelers. What are you guys thinking?
I would say I'm going to say the Cowboys are going to win. I think Big Ben is going to try to come back. After that loss last week to the Ravens, but I think Cowboys win 30-23.
All right. So I'm going to go Steelers here at home. I think that Big Ben, he had his warm-up week last week. He looked to have control of the offense. He made some nice throws, and I think that this offense is really going to rebound, and it's going to be a pretty strong offensive game. I think in a shootout, because both of these defenses, I think, are bend not break defenses. They're not. They might make a play here or there, but in the end, it's going to be a lot of throwing from both those QBs. And just based off his career, I'm going to trust Roethlisberger there to get the win.
Yeah, I agree. I think definitely Roethlisberger with the timeout from his past injury, definitely has kind of slowed him down in the team a little bit. But I think that being at home will kind of help get him back on track, and I think the Steelers will pull off a nice 33-14 win is what I'm going to go.
I like that. Also, look for Le'Veon Bell to maybe have a big game against that Cowboys D. Next game, Seahawks at Patriots. Seahawks haven't been exactly what they have been in recent years, but do you think that defense can get them the win?
I don't know. I mean, they've definitely been inconsistent, as you said. But Russell Wilson is still a top tier quarterback. He hasn't done that great at times during the season, but part of that's the competitive kind of like it's the Patriots, you got to beat them kind of like thing. But I think the Patriots win in a close 27-24 win.
I'm going to take the Patriots here as well. I think it'll be a close game, though. I think this defense can keep the game close. The way Russell Wilson's played this year, he normally makes those big plays late in the game, and I don't know if I trust him to do that right now. I think that Tom Brady is the hottest player in the NFL right now. He can't be stopped, and it'll definitely be a close game, but I think the Pats take it. What about you, Josh?
I have to agree with both of you guys. I think the Patriots have been really strong lately, and Brady's on his game. He's back to where he wants to be, and even though the Seahawks D has been pretty strong, and they can easily be on top of their game at any point, I think the Patriots are just too strong, and I'm going to go with a low-scoring game. I think it'll be 17-10 Patriots.
Okay. And then our last game, we're going back to local sports. Cornell at Binghamton, 7 p.m. on Friday. Who do you think's taking this one? First basketball game of the year.
Well, I think I'm going to go with the Bearcats. Cornell, they're as an Ivy League team, sometimes they've been good, sometimes they've been bad. But I like to see the upset. I think Binghamton, with a home crowd, can really get an advantage. And yeah, I'll look for a win.
And then I'm going to keep the hometown bias going. I'm going to take Binghamton. I think this young core that the team's been working around for the last couple of years, they should develop. I mean, should is the question here, but Cornell's definitely a beatable team, and I think Binghamton should show improvement. I think they come away with the win.
Yeah, I think they're ready for the season. I think they've been doing a lot of training, and I got to see them during their scrimmage a couple weeks ago, and they looked strong. They looked like everyone kind of knew what their roles were, and there were some spots to work on, but I feel like they'll find a way to beat Cornell to start the season.
I think those young players getting experience will definitely help, and then hopefully a big showing from the Bearcat student section. And now we're going to end the show going into Super Bowl predictions. So I guess I'll start off. The obvious choice, clearly the Patriots, the best team in the NFL, but we saw last year when faced up against a Broncos defense that came out to play, they couldn't stand up, and I think that's what's going to happen again at some point. Could be the Broncos, but I'm going with the Raiders because I think they win that division this year. I think that offense is better than the Patriots. I think Derek Carr, if he keeps playing at the level that he's playing, then there's only a certain amount that Tom Brady can outplay him by. He's really inching up into that elite status. And I think the defense, while obviously is underperformed, I think they have the playmakers in Khalil Mack and David Amerson who can make those plays. And I think that's what it takes to really to make a run in the playoffs. You have a good offense and a defense that can stand up when they need to.
Yeah. My Super Bowl picks is the Patriots and the Seahawks. I think there's going to be another rematch of the current one. I think the Seahawks are going to put on a late season run to really run away, with their division and stick with it up until the Super Bowl.
And just to clarify, my other picks from the NFC would be the Falcons, but I still think the Raiders take that game. I'm big on the offenses this year, I guess I'll say. And Josh?
Yeah, so I'm big on the offenses too, and I think the Patriots will take it in the East, and I think that the Falcons will pull it out in the NFC. So I think Patriots Falcons, and I'm gonna go for the upset and say the Falcons and their dominant offense will pull away and take the Super Bowl.
Definitely an interesting team, the Falcons. They've been playing real well.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back hopefully next week with a new episode, and we're looking forward to a great rest of the season for BSPN.